you, you've been a car collector for a number of years. What attracted you to Duesenbergs?
Well, that was sort of the ultimate American car. You know, when I was a kid in the 60s and just getting interested in cars, you know, 15, 16 years old, there still was not an American car that had overhead cams and 4 valves per cylinder. I mean, it's only recently, 15, 20 years, that American cars are just getting what Duesenberg had in 1927. So that's pretty amazing to me. I always liked cars that were ahead of their time in their time. When most cars could barely go 45 to 50 miles an hour, Duesenbergs could go 115 miles an hour. I mean, it's one of the few classic cars you can go out and drive, and you have to go, sorry, thank you, it's an old car, go around me. I mean, you don't have to apologize to anybody. You can drive it like a modern car, it's fast like a modern car, but it has that vintage car feel, you know.
Well, in their stock form, how do they compare to other, I mean, I see you have lots of other different kinds of cars, so how do they compare to other?
You know, it's hard to sort of compare cars from different eras to modern eras. It's like when you look at, you know, paintings of Rubenesque women, the men go, look how fat she is, isn't that beautiful? You know, it's a different standard, you know, it's like bodybuilding. It's like when you look at bodybuilders from the 40s, they're like these kind of fat guys, you know, and they go like this, and they don't seem to have any muscles, and then you compare it with, you know, the Arnold Schwarzenegger. So it's a different standard. Like today we go, how fast can a car go 0 to 60? But back then, how slow could you go in third or in top and then nail it, and then how long would it take you to get to 60? I mean, it was a different standard, a different measure of car. But I guess you're asking me, how does it measure up to the other cars at that time period?
That too. How does it measure up to just its sort of comparable brethren?
Well, the Duesenberg was the first American car that could really go head to head with the European cars in sophistication and engineering. America, because we had these sort of unpaved roads that were long and flat, Americans wanted just dependability. A nice flathead motor with a distributor that would just slowly choom, choom, and just get you down the road. Europeans were into auto racing and handling far before we were. We just wanted something dependable. In Europe, cars were always something the rich had and the sporty had, whereas America, it was that everyman, you know, get your goods to market, and the farmer, Henry Ford, so a farmer could, you know, have mobility and that type of thing. So it was just a different way of looking at it. And the Duesenberg was the first American car that really sort of knocked the socks off the Europeans. The Hispano Suiza, the Bugatti, all these cars had very sophisticated engineering. Whereas the Duesenberg was the first American car to incorporate all that.
Great, great. Well, what's it like to drive one today? I mean, when you take that out, I mean, how does it feel?
I mean, it's great fun. I like it. I mean, it's a type of thing where you know, spending my whole life reading about these things and never thinking I would actually own one. It's exciting. In some ways, it's disappointing because new cars are so good and so sophisticated and get so much power from some tiny motors. It's like when you read accounts of the time of a guy in a Duesenberg and he steps on the throttle and, oh my God, he can't breathe, he's going so fast, and he's passing cars, and you have to put that in context, you know. I would say a Duesenberg is probably just about as fast, or maybe not even quite as fast as your average four-door sedan with a V8 that you would buy now. But at the time, it seemed amazing because cars just didn't go that fast, you know. So I think if you got in one and you didn't know anything about cars, you would go, boy, this is awful hard to drive. There's no power steering, and you know, you have to double clutch, and because modern cars are more like refrigerators or washing machines. They're expected to work. They always work. Nobody makes a bad car anymore. Nobody makes a car that really falls apart. So you just take it for granted, you know, electronics, engines are pretty much sealed. Nobody can work on cars anymore. So people concentrate on, fancy wheels and a big stereo and that type of thing. But cars of the 30s, the engine was the centerpiece. You know, if you had to lose foot room because the engine was big, well, so be it, you know. It's like that Duesenberg over there. It weighs 6,000 pounds. It's bigger than a truck. And inside it's smaller than a Honda Civic. I mean, you drive like this and there's no trunk. I mean, it's completely ridiculous. It's just something the landlord would buy to go down and collect rent and run over poor people with. I mean, it's the most ridiculous, huge car. I mean, it's cartoony. It's hysterical. But it's just one man's idea of what he wanted. You know?
Is that part of it? It was so much about an individual. It really wasn't.
Well, in those days, you bought a car the way you bought a suit. You would, a manufacturer would make a chassis like this bare chassis here, and then designers would come in and go, oh, Mr. So-and-so, here's the body I would like to build. Well, here's the body I would build. And then you look at different designs and you decide what you need. In fact, a lot of times, people would put a four-door body on in the winter, and then come spring, they'd drive it down to the dealer. They'd lift that body off and put on a sporty, open body car. So, I mean, these cost $18,000 when a Ford was $325. I mean, it's hard to, I don't know what the modern equivalent would be. Maybe something like the McLaren at $1 million, or some top-of-the-line Rolls-Royce or Bentley for $250,000. But even that seems cheap. I mean, $18,000 in the middle of the Depression, that's a lot of money. I mean, people used to throw rocks at these things, you know. You're sitting there selling apples and a guy goes behind a Duesenberg, hey, how are you, pal? You know, not gonna make a lot of friends.
Do we need to move that stand? Is that no? Okay, great. Well, I mean, one of the things you said is, you know, with a modern car, you can't really tinker with it. I mean, you can't really get in, you can't do anything in it.
Right.
Is that part of the fun of these, that you can actually
Oh, I think that's the fun of it. I don't know a whole lot of people that drive Duesenbergs. I enjoy driving them, primarily for that reason. I mean, it's great fun to sort of get in there and tinker a bit, and oh, I see, and fix whatever it was, and then go out on the road and try it out. There's a great visceral sort of feel to these automobiles. I mean, it's one of those things, it's hard to explain. I'm not quite sure how you explain to someone. You either get it or you don't. You know, it's like trying to explain being straight to a gay guy or vice versa. Look, you either get this or you don't. You know, I'm sorry. This is a woman. This is what they look like. It doesn't do anything for you. I'm sorry. You know, you can't convince. It's one of those things. You know, like I have these recordings of they made these records in the 60s of engine sounds, and you hear the 6-cylinder Honda, whee! And then you hear the BRM, and you hear all these motors just revving up and going down the straight of Le Mans or something. My wife looks at me like, what is that? It's like fingernails on a blackboard to her. It's just, she goes, why do you listen to these stupid, it doesn't sound like anything, whereas to me it sounds like music. But she goes, how can you listen to that? I mean, I can sit in the living room and hear, you know, and she's going, will you turn that off? You know, so it's you either get it or you don't.
Speaking of that, how does your wife feel about this hobby? I mean, you must spend an inordinate.
Well, fine. I mean, when you compare it to the usual Hollywood hobby of hookers and cocaine, it's actually much cheaper in the long run. At least you have something to show for it when it's over. It's fine. I mean, I always sort of use that as a joke, but I have one woman and 53 cars, as opposed to most of my friends that have like a Lexus and 53 girlfriends, and they're all broke, you know, so I'm actually ahead of the game.
Well, one of the things we've seen, we've been wandering around and talking to a number of the people and looking at these restoration shops, and a lot of the guys who are doing the restoration look like they may have been doing it since the 1930s. Is there a problem with not finding young people now coming into this? Is this
well, it's hard to find young people because there's no place for them to start. I mean, most of the old boys that worked on these cars could buy these cars for $800. I mean, I can remember when no antique car costs more than a new car. I mean, I can remember it was about the really early 60s when I was about 11 or 12, and my dad and people would say, how much? You could get a new Cadillac for that. Well, why would you want that old car when you could have a new Cadillac instead? Or occasionally you pick up the newspaper, you'd read about some guy traded in a Mercer or a Stutz for a brand new Cadillac. You know, who would do that? You'd have to be nuts. You know? But the value just went up and up. The reason you don't have more young people doing it now is because, would you let an 18-year-old kid touch this? I wouldn't. You have to be out of your mind. But at the time, I mean, I've gone through that myself. I can remember buying 59 Cadillacs for $300, $350, and then about 6 or 7 years ago, someone told me they went to look at a 59 Caddy, and I said, how much? And they said it was $75,000. I go, you mean $7,500? No, $75,000. I said, $75,000. And I realized, to somebody, you know, there's a 30-year rule. The cars that are valuable are, you take a guy that's 48 and you go back 30 years, and that's going to be the highest price. I mean, at the Barrett-Jackson auction, 57 Chevys, $85,000, $90,000. You know, the real old stuff now, the T's and the early Model A's, they've actually gone down in price in a lot of cases because the people that wanted them and knew them have all passed away. And to the next generation, it doesn't mean a whole lot. Does that make any sense?